What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Value Podcast, where valuable people attract people of value. I'm Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on repairing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. I don't know if y'all caught the first one, part one of how important is the sex, but we are back, and I got my amazing guest with me. This is how important is the sex, part two. We're going to go around and let them introduce themselves, so we're going to start with the great lady. Let's
How
go.
y'all doing? I'm Danielle Tichet. I'm the owner of Love Billboard, which is a Christian clothing company where we are walking billboards of love, faith, and hope. I'm also an author of God Locked Out, and just a speaker of God's word as much as I can.
Hassani.
Amen.
My name is Hassani Pettiford, and I'm the co-founder of Couples Academy, which is a private practice that focuses on affair recovery and divorce prevention. We've written 14 books, a few television shows. We do conferences and private marriage intensives around the world, and always look forward to these type of conversations.
Yes. See, on part one, I kept it calm. This time, I'm giving you that DJ voice. It's the versatile DJ for Delph, a.k.a. Delph, man, Mr. Hype Juice himself. Listen, tell somebody that knows somebody to tell somebody. Valuable people attract people of value, part two. It's all about the sex. If you didn't catch part one, go rewind it. Go listen to it right now so you can come back to this one and understand what we're talking about. Anyway, DJ for Delph, DJforDelph.com. I am, as it says, DJ, also an author. My wife and I, we have a business in real estate and construction. Check in on us, all right? Let's get into this.
Go.
What an introduction. We were supposed to do that at the end, but the man is here. I hope he got that much energy and stamina throughout this whole conversation.
Oh, it's on.
We are going to pick up where we left off on part one. If you didn't catch part one, you got to go subscribe to the podcast channel or check out the YouTube channel. Miss Danielle.
Yes.
Oh, no, you need to put your live on now so all the people that
Put
was
your
responsive
live
I
on.
know.
commenting on the
I
I
last
left
time.
the little thing y'all gave
We
me
don't need
last
that. Lean it
time.
up on something. Let's go. Lean
They
it on
was
that
in
water
there
bottle.
chatting it up.
But I got my notes.
Oh, you got
Okay.
notes? What
Yeah,
you-
I got notes.
Oh,
I got
man.
notes for this part because this is something that just bugs me, and I think it bugs a lot of women because we hear this.
Airdrop
so-
your notes and I could give you my phone.
Okay.
We're not going to do that.
Okay. I think I got it. I
Okay,
think
but
I
we
got
are
it.
going to start off where you left off
Okay.
with people wanting to take this sex and test drive it.
Right.
So let's go with the question because you were asking
Go
the
with the
question.
question
So
at the
again.
end.
okay. So we need to get on live.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on.
But
y'all.
what was your question that you ended with?
I don't remember.
You were
the
talking
question.
about why do people feel like they want to test
Oh
drive?
yes. So why do men say, some men and some I've heard women say this, but in order to marry somebody, then they would have to know what the sex is like before they do a lifetime commitment. And y'all ready for my answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is for somebody who says they are a Christian or a follower of God. If you're not, then that just don't really apply to you. But if you are a follower of God, this is my thing. If we did it right from the beginning, which is God's way from the beginning, if we did it right, we wouldn't have these expectations of our spouse or the person that we are dating or the person that we want to marry. We wouldn't, I know that I feel like we wouldn't have these expectations for this person to serve us in this sexual capacity that we have, if that makes sense, right? Pornography, all these other things that we've watched, we hold that person to that standard. Like, okay, this person needs to serve me in this way that I have served myself before I met them. And it's all about serving that person. It's like, okay, I can't marry this woman because I need to make sure she's going to serve me properly. But marriage, in my opinion, and what I see in God's word, is about you serving the other person. It's not about that person serving you. It's about you serving the other person. So I feel like if we've done it God's way and we abstained until marriage, right? You don't need to test drive me. I don't need to test drive you, right? We both will learn this together. And if we both have fallen in sexual immorality before marriage, then at this point we can come together and now we have this new covenant and we can learn one another. Now we have a lifetime. Okay, you like this, I like this, you don't like this, I don't like that. And now we had that time to grow together in a covenant, right? Instead of just counting the person out because I didn't like this from the beginning.
What if the
Does that
person?
make sense?
My thing is, what if they don't want to get married?
Then you can't have my body.
Well, I mean, I know what you're saying, your body. I'm just saying people in general, because some people don't want to get married.
Right. So then why would I have sex with you?
That is so
Go
much
ahead,
to
DJ.
unravel with that. Right
Unravel
there.
it.
Woo!
Why would I give you my body if I can't have your last name?
Right.
Truth.
Right? My body is a
But
temple.
I want to
Only
address it from all perspectives because
Okay.
that's dope that you hold yourself to that high esteem. But some people, some people don't even believe in God, and they like, yo,
Right.
we just we're doing what we're doing as two humans. You know, we like to have sex. They don't look at it as they're being disrespected.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or they're devaluing themselves.
And if they do, then that's their standard. That's why I said this is for somebody who claims to be a follower of Christ
Right.
and is held under this standard. I know for me, if I marry a man and he can't be faithful to his God, then how can I expect him to be faithful to me? You know what I mean? I want for example, I was dating a guy and we were abstinent, right, in our relationship. So we're dating and I called him up one day and I'm like, hey, a guy friend of mine just bought a new house and he wants me to come over and check it out. Let you know I'm about to head over here, you know, whatever, just checking in with him, letting him know. And he's like, yeah, okay, you know, I'll see you later. So we got in the conversation with somebody else and they're like, oh, you don't mind your girl going over some guy's house? And he's like, bro, she won't have sex with me. I know she not gonna have sex with nobody else. And everybody joked and laughed about it. But at the same time, what it showed me is he trusts me. Right? My witness to him, he can trust me, right? Because I'm honorable. I honor my body unto God and I won't even let that fall with him.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a matter of trust that we can build with one another. And I feel that I would feel the same way with him if that's what he's
I
doing.
definitely believe you shouldn't build the foundation on sex. The foundation of your relationship should not be built
Right.
on sex because anything can happen. I always tell people this, the minute you say I do, somebody might get in an accident or an ailment might impact their body.
True.
And then now she can't perform like she was performing before the accident, or he can't perform. He can't. I get real crazy when I'm talking. So he probably can't blow your back out like he was blowing it out when he was blowing it out before he had the accident. And so now he might be like, man, you know, since it was built on sex, now it's like, man, I don't know about this, man. I might have to find somebody else.
Right.
Because you built it on that foundation. I just
Right.
want to say, I would highly recommend that you do not build it on the foundation of sex. Hassani, talk to me.
Well,
I
mean, I think there's a great point to be made about, you know, the more partners you've had, and then when you get into a committed relationship after you say I do, there is the comparison, right? Because if you've
Right.
had it this type of way, that type of way, you've built up all these desires, pleasures, temptations.
Right.
You have preferences for what you
Right.
want. And if you're with somebody who doesn't have that same experience, it could be a letdown. Now you're disappointed. Now you're frustrated. Now you're comparing size and width and girth and positions and body types and all types of things. And I think to your point, pornography definitely can negatively influence
Sure.
how couples show up in a relationship because it creates a false expectation because all of it is fake anyway. It's I mean, I don't know if we talked about this last time, porn.
No,
but,
we did.
But,
We
but
did
in
it.
essence, in essence, pornography is just as bad as I think women are into erotic. What is it? It's called what is the female version of porn when they read these novels and they're so romantic.
Oh yeah,
it's like
the
erotic
sex novels. Yeah, erotic.
they're
literature.
both of them are just as
They are?
bad
I didn't
because
know that.
because porn basically it's men creating fantasy about how a woman pleases a man.
That's
For
right.
women, they're women creating fantasies about how men should please a woman, and all of them are in their extremes.
Yep.
And the more you watch it, it really distorts reality because guess what? Porn is perfect. There's no stank breath. There's no nappy hair. There's no ashy skin. There's no any of that. It's perfect. You can have whatever you want, whoever you want, every which way. But then
Whenever
you wake
you
up
want.
to the reality of what you have, and it doesn't line up.
It can never, like you said, because it's fake, right?
Yeah,
it's
so
not real.
It's unfake. But in essence, sex should be used to consummate a relationship, not initiate a relationship. And oftentimes people
Wait, give him that part again.
Yes.
Give him that part again.
sex should be used to consummate your relationship, not initiate your relationship. And many of us engage in what we call naked dating. We engage in sex within the first meeting to the first month of meeting someone. And so we are initiating these relationships with a sex ship. And so unfortunately, we are building a foundation of the relationship with sex. And that becomes the main form of your communication, your activity, your interests. And it takes you a lot longer to know someone's heart, mind, soul, interests, passions, because sex got in the way too soon.
Well,
That's so good.
Okay,
Here's
let
the
me say
thing
this.
too, though.
Go
Here's
ahead.
the thing
Okay,
too.
go ahead, Del.
I mean, there's so much I want to unravel with what you said, but to start right where you finished, you also have to look at the person or the people and their level of experience in life. And what I mean by that is that some people will not even get to the thought of sex if they can't even get past this person's intellectual or this person's personality, this person's posture, right?
Right.
Because they've experienced so much in life to where now they're like, what else is there? There has to be more, right? So I can't even get turned on to the point of where I even think of you in a sexual manner because you don't even give me eye contact.
Right.
Or your dialect is just so messed up to where I'm not even interested even going that far, right?
Right.
So to each his own, to where everybody has a different expectation or a different want out of people. So just wanted to jump on there because we stopped wherever you finished. I forgot, but that kept going through my head. And the reason why I say that, so for instance, there was a point in my life because I was touring around the world constantly to where it was like, it was just coming so easy. What you show up to a hotel, the agent, the promoters are like, whatever you need, we got it. We were in Germany for a month. It was like nonstop. And I'm not talking about sex. I'm just saying, but it was there. But every day, something, right? To where I got to a point that was like, there has to be more, right? Get back to the States.
You mean like temptation was there every day?
No, temptation was there. If we wanted it, it was there.
Okay,
like whatever we wanted.
Okay.
And now in my life, before I got married, but especially when I'm married now, but before I got married, I was like, same way females, females at a drop of a dime, they can get anybody they want, right? I got to a point in my life to where I was like, if it doesn't turn me on, mentally, sapiosexual, right? If it doesn't do certain things for me, it doesn't matter because you can have 100 females in a room, beautiful, right? But you talk to 99 of them and they're like, dumb. And you're like, okay, nothing interests me here, right? So I think when it comes to that as well, it depends on the level of experience in life for some people as well.
Yeah. And I think that's why courtship, which it doesn't talk about dating in the Bible. Like, you really don't see any scriptures talking about dating in the Bible. But this is why I believe relationship is so important. And I remember my dad said he should treat you like his sister until you're his wife. And at first you're like, I don't want, somebody that I like treating me like I'm the sis, but he's like, he should respect you like that. He should honor you like that. He should treat you like that until you are his wife. Right. And, I remember him also telling me a story, and I guess, this is a dad's story, but at the same time, it could be, it's rooted in the word. So he said a man and a woman gets married, right? And they're at the altar and they're about to commit to one another. And before they say, I do, they say, stop. Before I marry you, there is a list of men. There is imagine a line of men behind her and a line of women behind him. And before I can say I do to you, this is what happened before you, right? All these people came before you. I said I do and gave my body and gave everything to these people before I did you. So it would always make me think like, I ain't gonna have no long line. You know what I mean? I don't want a long line. I wanna love my husband so much where I look at him and I say, I waited for you. It was difficult. It was hard. I didn't know if you were ever coming. I didn't know what you were going to look like. I didn't know, but I knew what I prayed for. I knew what I asked for. And God said he would give me the desire of my heart. And I said no to all of them so I can stand here and look in your eye and say yes to you.
That's a powerful visual right there.
That's a real great visual.
And the thing is, these individuals from your past, even though you may be physically separate from them, you may not be single from them yet.
Yes. Ooh,
because if you're still thinking about them, dreaming about them, got memories of them, comparing them, there's pieces and parts of you, not just your physical body, but your heart and your mind that still may be with these other individuals. And it's hard to give all of who you are to your new partner because you've
given it.
You've given it. And so that's why, we say this all the time. Every woman has to go through a detox, getting those men out of her system, and every man needs to go through a detox. And until
Hold
you
on a
do
second.
that,
Hold on a second. Asani, I'm making this a mandate on my podcast. What we're not going to do is drop bars and then just like move along the
Move on,
bars.
just keep going.
Bring the bar back to the because I was thinking about rehabilitation and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
you just dropped some heavy bars. So
but
bring
think
that
about
back.
it. Like a person who's on drugs, right? They have to go through a detox
Right.
to get that stuff out of their system, right? So that they're clean and they're whole and they're complete.
That's right.
Likewise, in a relational context, you've got to go through a she-tox if you're a man or a he-tox if you're a woman to get that person out. Because I'm telling you, if you're going to give all of who you are, spirit, soul, body,
Yes.
to someone else, you don't want any type of legal, financial, emotional, relational attachments to anyone in your past. And one of the major problems that we find in relationships today, even in marriage, people are still trying to hold on to their past. People haven't had conversations where they've created proper boundaries and parameters, or what we would call a relational code of ethics for how we deal with people from our past,
Yep.
or how we deal with members of the opposite sex that we may meet at work, at the grocery store, whomever. And so the question that I always ask people is this: in your relationship, what rules have you established? So for the men, if a human being has a vagina and a pulse, what is your interaction going to be with that other human being other than your wife? I say to the women, if a human being has a penis and a pulse, how do you show up and interact so it doesn't compromise the integrity of your relationship?
That's good.
You know, I was just having that conversation with somebody in terms of expectations. In the beginning, these are conversations that are difficult. You know, they're uncomfortable. We don't want to have them. We feel like, oh, I don't want this person to run away if I have this conversation, especially when it's involving sex.
Right.
And talking about past relationships. I think those conversations should be had. Me personally, man, if you meet somebody, I would say within that first couple dates, somewhere in
Yeah,
there, you need to
yeah,
have that
I agree.
conversation.
Absolutely. I think the very first conversation should be to see if there's chemistry, if
Yeah,
you like
yeah.
each other, do you have things in common? But before you get too far,
Right.
you need to have those conversations, because when you deal with those 4 seasons of a successful relationship, the dating season, committed courtship, engagement, and marriage, every season comes with different levels of responsibilities and expectations and conversations that need to be had. It's interesting how a lot of people don't find out who the real person is till after.
After.
That's so
After.
true. That's so true.
I was saying this, I was talking about ideas, and what we like is the idea of the relationship, but we don't like the weight or responsibility that comes with it.
That's good.
So we like to say idea. It's like we have a grand idea of, I see her as my girlfriend, I see him as my boyfriend, but we don't never have the conversation. So we just go along, and we're just basically 2 ideas walking through life.
Right. Instead of being intentional.
Yeah, if the idea is never executed, it's never concrete.
Right.
So therefore, it's just an idea, and an idea is nothing. It has no weight, no responsibility until it's executed. So until that conversation is executed about the sex or the expectations, it's just an idea, and we'll string each other along through life. Like you said, we're going through these seasons, and we're still on season 1 because we never executed the idea.
There it is.
Right.
It's like a pothead. I told my friend, I was like, when I used to be on the block, we smoking. Yeah, man, I got this dope idea, man. You know, what if we could put like, if sneakers had their own personal cleaner that came out the bottom of the shoe? Oh, that's a dope idea, man. Yeah, I think we could do it. And we never execute on that idea.
Right,
And
right.
people walk through life like that. We're just ideas walking through life. And if it's not executed, there's no responsibility. And that's mostly what people don't want, the commitment or the weight or the responsibility that comes along with executing that idea.
That's good. That's good.
That's
and
what
I,
I'm
and, I, and I think this is why God put these protections in place, because he is such a good God and because he loves us so much, right? But myself included, because I haven't, followed that my whole life, but we look at it as restriction instead of protection. Right? It's protection. It's not restriction. And it wasn't until I looked at God as a father instead of a master. And when I see him like, yo, I looked at you as a master and I had to follow all of these. But when I really looked at him as a father, and I'm saying, you're doing this to protect me. You're doing this to protect my heart. You're doing this so I don't have to go through these things. Like we talked about last time, I'm divorced, right? But if I would have yielded and did it God's way, I probably would not be divorced, because I would have done it his way that would have guarded me and protected me from these things. Like God literally wants to protect us and give us this amazing life. However, sin, right? Sin is this battle that we have to fight. And when we know better, we'll do better. Right?
I think the problem is we limit sex to just being a physical act.
Yeah.
As if we don't bring our spirit,
So
our
much,
soul,
yes.
our heart, our mind, our everything into that act. So
That's
even
so
if you
true.
had sex with a prostitute, you can't say, well, I'm only giving the prostitute my body. You're giving the prostitute all of you, the way you give your spouse all of you, the way you give that committed person all of you. And so what happens is when you're giving all of you to so many different people, you don't realize what you're giving up, what you're receiving, what's being
right.
deposited into you. It's more than just physical. It's spiritual. It really, there's a soul tie that happens
Ooh, yes.
in these type of interactions. And because we don't really put much value on it, I just don't think that we value sex the way that God does.
Right.
And we minimize it to something that's so, it's just cavalier. It's no big deal. And we do more damage in the long run.
And what you said, really quick, what you said just hit me. The he talks and the she talks. I'm thinking about Jesus at the well with the woman at the well who was what? A prostitute, right? So he's at the, was she a prostitute? I think she was. He's at the well with this woman, and he basically he talks to her, right? In that situation, he says, "Where's your husband?" And she says, "Well, I don't have a husband." He said, "Yeah, you have had 5, and the man that you're with right now is not even your husband. Sin no more." So he tells her, "You need to he talks right now. Sin no more, and go and preach my word." And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he's cleansed her, right? So he didn't condemn her. He didn't rebuke her. It wasn't this, you're going straight to hell like the world looks at those things. He was just like, look, he talks and sin no more and go about your way.
It's interesting because there was a study done on prostitutes, a medical study on prostitutes, and there was a high rate of schizophrenia amongst prostitutes because they had been with so many different people and took on so many different personalities
for each person
that they lost themselves
and
didn't know who they were. And I'm telling you, so it's
That's
more
powerful.
than just a deposit. A physical deposit. It's a mental, emotional, and a spiritual deposit.
So Danielle, you gave this image of you at the altar,
right?
And these guys lined up, or the guy with the women lined up. So, and I think that can be a very sobering conversation to have with somebody. I know you said you're at the altar, but let's just say you're talking to the person, and you guys sit down. You're like, "Yo, I want to have this conversation. Let's talk about the past." Not to say that we're going to use the past to like just be the sole dictator of our future together, but you have this conversation. Let's say your slate is kind of like maybe 4 men, right? And then the guy's like, "Yeah, man, I've been with 20 women."
Right.
Most guys don't want to open up, or women, if that's their position, because they feel like they say that number and the person be like, "You know what, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
So what would you do with that? Like if the guy has 15 women and he's like, "Yo, I've been with 15 women and this is the way we did it. This is that. I had 3 this day and 2 this." Like,
well, what I do, who am I to look at him crazy?
Say that. Say that again, because there may be women in that position. Now, here's the thing: they might not be as mature as you are at that level.
And I don't know if it's about maturity, but just more so like understanding. Like,
no, because think about it. If a woman heard that, and a guy was like, "Yeah, they sitting at Cheesecake Factory, he's talking, he's like, man, I just want to really tell you, man, I've been with 20 women, and this is the way I was doing it." I believe, from me knowing you, your level of maturity is more like forgiving, understanding. The Lord touched me. Some women may be like, hold on a second. They might not say it right there at the table, but in their mind and their heart, they may be like, man, I really like him, but that right there is canceling me.
I would think about myself, and I would think about how his 20 is compared to my could be 1. And it don't matter because sin is sin. My 1 and his 20 is the same. We done the same thing. Your 1, your 20, that forgiveness that he asked God for and I asked God for, we got the same forgiveness. So who am I to put the numbers? So, okay, you've been forgiven. I've been forgiven. Me and you will move on from here. But I can see what you're saying, how somebody could not be okay with that, and then they would have to just look at themselves. That could be kind of self-righteous, and it could be just a choice, their preference. I don't want to be with somebody with 20. And what would happen is they would go find somebody that's been with 100, and that person is lying to them. So you have to honor the person that's telling you the truth. Okay, this person is coming to me. They're telling me maybe something difficult, hard for them to, talk about. They're telling me the truth. I'm going to work with that person like God has worked with me.
And that's what, and you gave, and that's a great answer. And I hope somebody that's watching this and listening, heard that answer right there.
Yeah, we all need grace.
But you know, when you've been with multiple people, it can create insecurities.
Yeah,
and it can create issues later on. And so this is why I think it's important to not have the conversation, but you have to have ongoing conversations, because like an onion, you got to peel back the layers to get to the core.
Yeah.
And I think that whenever you're talking about sex, period, think about it. From the time that you were a child, it was associated with shame.
Right.
It was something dirty. Think about the first time you had that conversation with mom and dad. Oh, it was just like weird and awkward, and I don't want to talk about it. And what we do is we've grown up being very uncomfortable with the conversation. Even in married relationships, it's the thing that we love to do but hate to talk about. Because when I have to reveal my past and reveal what I've done, it exposes me and it reveals who I was, and I'm trying to get as far away from that person as humanly possible, and now I've got to bare my soul with you. It would be easier for me to take off my physical clothes and be physically naked than to be emotionally naked. So emotional intimacy is what a lot of couples are starving of, because the physical is no big deal, but to share what's really going on in my heart and in my mind, that's a completely different situation.
Right.
But they're necessary conversations to have, because you don't want to walk into a relationship with guilt, with shame, with lies and deception. I got to give an image or representation of who I really am, because if you knew who I really was, you wouldn't love me, you wouldn't accept me. And so this is where deep conversations happen. So one of the things that we do with our couples, we have something called Pillow Talk, 50 questions of extraordinary sex. So whether you are dating, in a committed courtship, engaged, or married, it's one of those things you have to engage in periodically to really deal with the pink elephant in the room.
Right.
So you can get the issue out of the way, so that you can give all of who you are to your spouse uninhibited.
I think those conversations are hard because, like you said, the emotional part, especially if you've been hurt before by opening up with somebody in the past.
Yeah, that's true.
Because somebody's thinking in mind, man, I opened up to this person, they did this. I opened up to my family, they did this. I opened up to the church, they did this. I opened up to this, they did this. And now I met an amazing person, and I really want to open up. But
that's why you gotta
I just give them leaks of the information instead of all of it.
That does more damage. That's like having a Band-Aid and slowly trying to peel it off. It causes more pain than if you just rip that sucker off.
Right.
If there's stuff in your past that you're not pleased with and you have shame and guilt about, the best time to handle that is up front. Let me tell you something. I remember there was this female that I dated, and she told me from the gate, listen, I just want you to know, I done this, I done that, this is what she was just so transparent, and I had so much respect for that.
Yeah.
Because she gave me the option to choose. Right. She was just like, I'm not going to put on no front. This is what it is. What do you want to do?
That's good.
And I moved forward. You see what I'm saying? Because at least she gave me the option to choose and didn't keep me in the dark. And I think that's so critically important.
That's good.
Wow.
I think another thing that people are, as far as when sex, like before marriage or sex in a relationship, people feel like you can't have intimacy without sex. So I know, before, I had my relationship with God, before I was in a relationship with God, you would meet a guy and or when I got divorced. So say when I got divorced, prior to me coming to Christ, I thought, and I was in the in-between stage. I thought, well, how am I going to find another husband if I can't have sex with him? Like, how am I going to really connect? And I think a lot of women feel like in order for me to connect with this man, I have to give myself to him because he's doing these things for me, right? Whether he could be helping with a bill or he could be, helping with the back porch or something. So I'm going to have to give him something, to have this intimacy or some type of exchange. And that's just not the case. What do you guys feel about that? How do you
know what I hear when you say that? What's lacking in a lot of households, even from years past, is that the education aspect of it or the experience. A lot of people don't experience or see that within their homes.
Right.
So they don't know what it is to be intimate. They don't understand what it is to love themselves. They don't understand that. They've never been taught. They've never seen it in their household. So they just go by what is on TV, what is on the radio, what is in the movies. Oh, well, especially now with IG and all this other stuff. Oh, well, this new artist is saying give body, give body, give body in order for me to get love. That's all I know.
Right.
You know, I don't have any sisters. I don't have any mothers, no aunts. No one's telling me. So I'm going by vicariously through TV. That's all I know. You know, so then they meet a man that's never had a lead in the house, a man around them, and that's all they know is take. So now these two get together and they don't understand what's going on, you know? So then that just continues
cycle.
throughout the process of life, and then you get all of this, and then we have these conversations, you know? And then you got people listening at home like, I don't know what you're talking about. That ain't true.
Right,
you know?
right.
So education
And they think their
is lacking as
situation
well.
is different. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I did a comment. It was like a mini panel thing I did in my house, and I may bring it back. But the topic was called touchy touchy, and this is involving sex as well. Now, it wasn't so much people involved in pornography, but it was people that were, or people that felt comfortable doing this or not doing this, touching themselves before they had a girlfriend, boyfriend, or husband or wife.
Like masturbation.
Masturbation.
Okay.
Yeah, but I called it touchy touchy, like a
Okay.
play on words. So, you know,
Okay.
like, and
I know what you was talking about. I said,
I'm like,
people
I can't say that. Touchy.
people touching themselves, you know, like,
right.
do you guys believe that interferes with the relationship in terms of, because that's sexual activity as well. Now, a person,
Absolutely.
let's say the person's not looking at pornography, like Hassani has stated, he was saying, you know, pornography damaging and all these visuals that you're getting. But let's say the person's just with themselves, because they still imagining somebody.
Yep.
Well,
If-
hopefully they're imagining their partner.
Yeah. Now, what if they're imagining their partner? Nobody would know we're not in their imaginations. But
Right.
what if they are?
What do you mean?
Is that bad as the pornography?
I'm gonna be quiet.
Is it bad as the pornography?
I'm with my
I would
girl.
say
I'm
no.
with my
I
boyfriend.
would
We've been
say it's
together
not as-
for we are together. We
Right.
know that we are gonna be married, or we're gonna be together forever. If it's not marriage, and I'm at home and I'm thinking about her, I'm thinking about him, and I'm touching myself to get off. What were you gonna say, Hassani?
I would say
it's
okay.
not as bad as pornography. See, there's
know.
levels of things, right? So obviously,
I want you to hit that.
I mean,
that
yeah,
note.
I mean-
after you say it, hit me, Danielle.
So we talk about the four purposes of sex, right? Procreation,
Okay.
recreation, communication, and ejaculation/release. So when you're coming together with your spouse, sometimes you just want to have fun and recreate. Sometimes you want to communicate. Sometimes you need to ejaculate, right? So in the context of marriage, because that's, you know, my audience.
Right.
Yes, there's people who have masturbated in the context of their marriage. Is that a preferred method over pornography? Absolutely. Is that a preferred method
Okay, I
over
see.
cheating with another partner? Absolutely. So if there's a situation where that man or that woman has a higher sex drive and their spouse is not accommodating them to the level that they want, and they use it as a form of release to overcome any other temptation, jerk off all day long. Do what you got to do, but protect the integrity of your marriage. Is it ideal? It's not ideal, but I'd rather that option than an alternative that can cause more damage.
And I'm glad you said that, because there are some people that are in relationships and there may be something that's wrong with him or her.
But
And that may
I think
be the choice that they have to take. And it might not even be a choice that they want.
relationships or marriage, because I agree 100% what he said as
in the
far
marriage.
as
I mean, if it's in the marriage.
okay.
But what if it's in a relationship?
So in a single, so like he said, his audience is married.
marriage.
And I would say for me, my audience may be singles.
Okay.
So for a single, that goes back to the heart, right? That goes back. What are you doing this for? And it goes back to the heart. And 100% of the time, that person masturbating is what? It's lust, right?
Okay.
So this is something that we should not do, right? This is something that we should not do. Not the actual act, but the heart behind us doing that, because it can be just like pornography. You can do that the whole time you're single, and then you get married to somebody, and you may have done it 20 times a day, and then you get married to somebody, and now you're going to have this thirst and this appetite that you're going to put off on this person because this is what you were doing prior to being
or
with them.
he can't put it in. He can't put it down like the speed of that vibrator
Right.
he was working with. I'm just keeping it.
I mean,
100.
that
true.
could be.
That's real right there.
Right.
Especially if she's
It
doing
could
it like
be.
5-10 times a
Right.
day. He going
Right.
there. She like,
Right.
okay.
Right. So that's the physical part, but then also the spiritual part that you would have to guard your heart and protect your heart by abstaining from doing that as well.
So, Asani,
And
you
is it
mentioned
difficult? Yes.
you mentioned the heat talks. Can you give me like what would be like a typical time frame? I know for everybody it'd be different.
Yeah.
With a he talks or a she talks, because you know, like what would it be like? What do you recommend? Is it on the body count?
What are you asking?
Like how many
me?
people I've had in my past when
Per
I'm getting
time.
into this new relationship, and it's like, man, I got to go through a she talks or a he talks.
Right.
Like, what's
So,
a typical time
I don't think
frame?
it's about a time frame.
Okay.
It's about what you do with that time.
Okay.
You know,
That's good.
You know how they say, well, time heals all wounds. That's not true.
Okay.
It can if you do the right thing with the time. Time is neutral. It's what you do with the time that
Yep.
really makes a difference.
Yep.
And you got to understand. So I wrote a book. So I've written many books, but one of them is entitled Black Thighs, Black Guys, and Bedroom Lies. And there's a chapter entitled I Don't Want to Be a Player No More. And I was interviewing different individuals about their sex life and their promiscuity. And I think that if we just limit sex to it's just a physical act and don't consider that there's a philosophy and an attitude and an outlook on how I perceive women or men that goes into the act, I think we miss a big piece. Because would you mind if I just read a sliver? Like this is
No,
a
I
quote.
want you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I changed the name, but this is probably like, think about what I'm reading to you. This guy's name is Franklin. He's 32. He's engaged. This is what he says. He says, I've always loved women. I was raised to. Actually, I was raised to lust women. I had 10 uncles and 7 of them were pimps. All 7 were married with children and had women on the side. They exposed me to the life of cheating, broken relationships, and pimping at the tender age of 13. The more women I had, the more of a man I was considered. By the time I was 17 years old, I had 3 girls working for me. I sexed them. I protected them. I got them out of jail when they were arrested for prostituting. I was their father, their lover, and their best friend. In all actuality, I was their God. But that was not all. I had sex with so many women that I lost count. Skinny women, fat women, pretty women, ugly women, black women, white women, Puerto Rican women, handicapped women, even women I hated. I had no respect for them. I treated all women like cigarettes. A man smokes a cigarette when he's hungry, bored, mad, or tired. Well, that's exactly how I sexed women. I even raped a couple of them in my day. I never used condoms, and I would come inside every one of them, and then I fell asleep. These women, almost done, these women were consumed with spirits that ultimately jumped on me. Suicide, depression, greed, loneliness, and nymphomania.
Yes.
Most of my life, I had to battle with these spirits and always sought a way out. I wanted to change my flesh, but it kept pulling me back into the very thing I was trying to get out of. I was sick and tired of falling into the bosom of another woman. I sought the Lord and asked him to change me. It took years for me to finally purge myself of all of my past, but I'm now truly delivered. Abstinence is the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Wow.
Years
Ooh, hold on.
to overcome all that he had been through. And he'd been through several marriages after he gave up that life and cheated and cheated and cheated and cheated because he formed a habit of being with so many different types of women. Variety. I need newness. I need difference. And so it impacted his marriage. So a she-tox, oh yeah, depending upon your history determines. So, but the point is, if you do nothing with those years, it could be a long time. If you do something with your she-tox, it could take you a couple months. It just depends on the person and what you do.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Can I respond to that?
Oh, please.
Like, that is so powerful. Proverbs 31, right? People read Proverbs 31. So we see what happened with this young man based on the things that he's done, right? Listen at Proverbs 31, verse 1. So this is King Lemuel. His mom inspired him to write Proverbs 31. Why did she inspire him to write Proverbs 31? To show him, because he was a king, what to do and what not to do. So what we just heard was something that was proactive, right? This is, after the fact. But listen what she's telling her son. We'll teach our sons and teach our daughters. But she says, the saying of King Lemuel, as inspired utterance of his mother, right? His mother taught him. She says, listen, my son, exclamation point, right? Listen, my son, listen, son of my womb. She's trying to get his attention, right? This mother is crying out to try to get her son's attention. And when you read that, I can feel that somebody or God is trying to get this man's attention. Listen to the next verse. It says, listen, son, the answer to my prayers, do not spend your strength on women or vulgar or on those who ruin kings, right? Like, this is the word of God that's telling us, do not do this stuff, because this is this is the thing that ruins kings. It ruins people. So to hear that, it breaks my heart to know that this young man was brought up in this, that God tries to protect us from, and now we have to deal with this stuff, right? Now we have to deal with this stuff instead of going to the word of God where it's already there. There's nothing in this world that we can go through that has not already been written here. I haven't found one person. I only been living 35 years, but I haven't run into one person that had a situation in life that it didn't happen here first, that we had some type of instruction to get through. I haven't. Not one person, not one situation.
So here's my, you know me, hey, growing up in the environments that some people grow up in, I understand the biblical answers to questions we have in life and the protection. But when you're growing up in, like, say some people's growing up in destitute environments where I could be 100, Delph. I'm growing up on Terrace Avenue in Hempstead, Long Island, New York. I don't remember nobody coming through the block sharing the gospel.
Right.
Nobody sharing this good word about protection and watch out for sex and watch out for this. We on the block and ain't nobody coming
nobody's
through.
doing what God is calling them to do.
No, I mean, there was a church around the corner. And of course, my mom instilled her wisdom and things of that nature. But on the block, I can remember right now, there was nobody coming through. So there was all types of sexual activity. People, as young as 12, 13, getting it on. No type of advice, no type of wisdom, you know? So, I mean, when you're in that position and you end up like the guy Hassani was talking about, or maybe not in that same capacity, but then what? You really can't knock
But
them.
what's so interesting is when I hear those type of stories, and like you're saying, usually somebody will say, well, I grew up in the church, but, right? Or my auntie be praying for me all the time, but, so there was something, right? Yeah. There was something, but whether we took heed to that, or we listened to that, or we listened to the things of the world. I know for me it was, right? And a lot of young women and men that I talk to, it was, but us actually taking heed to that is another story. And I also think that a lot of us, and I would even put myself in that position in my life. It didn't take me until I was 28 years old to really be who God has called me to be, right? 28 years old. So prior to that time, you know, a lot of us as sons and daughters of God who has a voice and a mouthpiece, we're not speaking up. Because we feel like we can't speak up. We feel like we are consumed by guilt of our past. The enemy has oppressed us so much. Well, we are not. So this is the reason why I'm even here today. Because I want to be that voice for that person that's watching, that's seeing, who won't have that excuse when nobody told me. That's not an excuse.
So check it out, though. I'm going here. Hassani, I think you talked about this before in terms of the people you counsel all over the world. There are people that may be listening because this is the Value Podcast, one of the greatest relationship podcasts in the entire world.
I agree with that.
And amen. There are people listening and they don't believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, but they're having sex. I think you were touching on this before. So it's a different outlook on life.
Right.
You know, so the weight of your words, what you're speaking, Danielle, doesn't weigh on my heart like that.
Right. So then you would have to deal with the consequences that come with it on your own.
Well, what about when you deal with different nationalities where Jesus is not the elite?
They don't see that as a consequence. They don't see it as like, oh, I know. I mean, of course.
Those that, matter of fact, that are taught have many wives or abuse your slaves X, Y, and Z in different cultures.
And I know you said last time it's not an absolute.
Well, what I'm saying is if we take faith completely out.
Right.
Okay, right. That's what I want to do right now.
As I told you, here's the deal. I've spoken to 350 colleges and universities in the country. I've been raised Christian, but I would never, ever, ever go on a college campus talking to college students about abstinence, which I did for 10 years by using the Bible. I would never use the Bible. I would never quote a scripture. I wouldn't need to because there's too much information. There's too many facts. There are too many statistics that I could give you to build a strong case as to why you shouldn't do it without ever referencing a scripture or talking about my faith. So it's not about if you're a Christian, this is how you should live. And if you're not, oh, well, I'm going to disregard that because I don't believe in Christ. Well, let's put all faith to the side.
Okay.
I mean, that's why you have sex educators. You have all types of people who will tell you what the facts are.
Right.
You know what? Well, we just need to keep it real. All this faith stuff, we need to keep it real. Well, guess what? AIDS is real.
Right.
Evidence-based facts.
You know what I'm saying? Unplanned pregnancy is real.
Right.
You know, sexual abuse is real. Like, all this stuff is real. And so
That's
if we're going
right.
to keep it real, you have to learn your audience and you have to speak their language
Right.
to win them over.
Right.
So if I'm talking to Christians, I'm coming with scripture. If I'm talking to atheists, I don't need to even bring faith into the equation because I
Right.
can give you science and statistics and facts because that's what you honor and value. No matter who I'm talking to, I first need to know who they are and what lens they look through and hit them in such a way that resonates with them.
And then again, that's why Paul says, I can be all things to all people.
Boom.
So let's simplify it.
scripture.
Let's simplify it because I think where you were trying to go is this. We're going to make it real simple because of the name of this particular show, at least, is the sex important? So your audience, playing devil's advocate right now.
Never be an advocate for the devil.
That's right.
You know what
He
I mean.
said that a lot too.
So, exactly. Truth. I'm going to stand up in this college campus right now and say, well, sir, I just got married. I waited, had sex. I don't love it at all. I actually look at her now because I don't like it. It wasn't good. What do I do? Sex is important to me. What do I do?
So you're saying you had sex, you didn't like it.
I'm married.
You
I
abstained.
waited.
You abstained.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
you waited.
I waited.
What I would tell
waited.
you- what
I
I
had
would-
sex with her.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
good
not
at
good.
all.
Right. Well, it's a skill that
That's
you can
right.
learn and develop over
No,
That's
time.
I'm
right.
great. I'm great. She
And it's a
is-
skill
Teach your
that
wife.
she can learn and develop over time. This is why
That's
you have
right.
sex education. This is why you have books. This is why you have all time. Like, couples go through sexual explorations all the time because they're out of sync. Overwhelmingly, if you were to poll the average couple, there's some type of sexual dissatisfaction for a variety of different reasons. Like when you consider the fact that 20% of all couples are 20% are truly happy and fulfilled sexually, emotionally, and every other way. The overwhelming majority have some type of disconnect. And oftentimes, one of the first problem areas that shows up is disconnect in the bedroom. So whether it's positions or ability to perform, whether it is anxiety that one brings in, whether it's past trauma that impacts the ability to connect, whatever it is, you got to get to the root of it and
That's
resolve
right.
that. And then we've seen couples totally transform in the bedroom. So, I mean, it's just like communication. Communicating
right.
with you is different than communicating with you. So I've got to learn what makes you tick versus what makes you, in order for it to work. And I think a lot of times we bring in our own history and we assume, well, if it worked for them,
It's
then
gonna
it
work.
need to be working for you. And maybe, you know what? Maybe it's not good. And maybe in your mind, she's not good. She's not doing what she needs to do. Or maybe you haven't learned her body and how to tap into her because you've come with this overinflated ego that you just know, but you really don't know. And whatever you've done in the past, throw that mess away because you're dealing with
A new
somebody
covenant.
And
And what if it's another
real
girl in the
quick.
audience though? So he got up and said,
Wait.
Yes, sir.
Now this kid chimes in and goes, well, I know for a fact we're going to have to work some things out because she told me already that she will never perform oral on me.
Yeah. And I've had
It's the same
that. I've
thing.
had a lot of couples who come in with religious tradition or cultural norms that give them the indication that that's not what good girls do. Listen, real talk. I got a situation right now. I was counseling a couple prior to I do. They got married. They've been married. I think I said this last week.
Yeah,
They've been
with your
married for
two-
7
Yeah,
months.
yeah.
Still haven't had sex. She won't touch it.
Did you talk to them lately?
I just spoke to them
Are they
last
doing
week.
it?
No.
Come on,
that's
bruh.
their business.
Those
Huh?
are serious issues that require deep dive counseling. But the point is, all of these extreme scenarios, they exist, right? But overall, we know that having sex prematurely, having sex with too many people can compromise a sexual relationship with a life partner, whether married or not married. So it's best to preserve yourself, maintain yourself, cleanse yourself, make yourself whole and complete, and give all of yourself sexual, emotional, social to one particular person because it puts a wall of protection around that relationship.
That's right.
That's awesome.
And so, and what he said too is that so the guy, people would look at the guy and be like, oh, well, she's not having sex and he wants to go. But what if a woman stood up and said, well, I waited and we got married and he broke.
He broke like money?
He broke. Yeah, he don't got no money. And you know what I mean? So then sex and money. So it would, does that make sense?
No,
well, that's a conversation.
Wait,
They
wait,
broke.
let me get it
married?
out.
You ain't know he was broke before you got married?
Yeah. Well, no. So not in that, and not in that, but a man can say, oh, well, sexually she's not pleasing me.
No, men and women can say that.
Right, but I'm saying from what you said about the guy standing up and like, I waited, I did all this, now so what am I going to do, right? And it wouldn't be that you would work with the person, right? He gave this example of how you would work with the person. But what if a woman said that about something totally different? I said money, but it could be anything totally different, and would it be that same grace? Or would you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
The point is to kind of speak to both of your issues. This is why most premarital counseling is whack in surface and deals with nothing. People aren't having real conversations.
That's right.
I'm not a Catholic, but I do respect the fact that you got to go through like 8-9 months of premarital counseling before you even say I do. Now, I don't know how good it is. I don't know the quality of it. I don't know if it works, but I'm just saying the point is if we're going to sign up for something long-term and lifelong and eternal, then we need to spend time. Let's slow down.
Yep.
Let's spend time. Let's have real conversation that's uncomfortable to figure this stuff out.
That's good. Yep.
Look,
I agree.
So
hold on
what
a second.
I said, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead.
I
just want to let you guys know we got 3 minutes.
Too many people want to have Too many people want to have weddings but not be married. Then wonder why the divorce rates are so high.
Yes.
Marriage requires constant work, communication, and understanding. Getting a marriage license should require mandatory counseling, but prior to I do, because we can get licenses, car to drive. They put us through hell, but to get a marriage license, okay, go
just
right around the corner,
there.
go get married.
Yep.
No. And so when you do construction and whatever the case may be, they give you a license so you can protect the community from being harmed. We should get licensed for marriage so we can protect the community from being harmed as well. Because when we break up and divorce, we mess up the kids, we mess up the family members, we mess up colleagues, etc. So we get marriage license too quick.
We spend a year preparing for a wedding and 3 to 4 hours preparing for a marriage.
Come on.
Boom.
And then when we have sex, that might not last that long. You know. I'm just we talking about.
You know what?
Bruh,
sex
is important.
Sex is important.
Sex
is important. Listen, and this, I believe this, the foundation out of this whole entire conversation, and even as we continue and we hold a conference inside of this building, I'm speaking those things as those. You know what I'm saying? The foundation is important. I think we all heard these words where it's, we have the it's the word storge, which is that type of, it's the, family type of love, different types of love. Then we have the phileo, which is that brotherly like type of love where I love my brother right here. I love Asani, my brother, Janielle, my sister, I love her, then we have the, eros, where we get the word erotic, that erotic type of love. But then there's that love that surpasses all those loves, which is the agape type of love.
That's right.
So when we build the love and the foundation of our relationship on the agape type of love, I'm not saying in perfection, but that's our constant meditation on this agape type of love. And it's not built on the eros. Cause here's the thing, family will do you dirty. You know what I mean? And I'm cutting them off.
Anybody.
My friends will do me dirty. My brother will do me dirty, and I'm cutting them off. But the eros, the erotic, if I build it on the sexual erotic emotions of this person, when that fails, then my foundation completely falls apart. But when I build it on the agape love, the God type of love for this man or this woman, no matter what happens, I still hold you at high esteem. I still give you the grace and the pass to be in my life forever and ever. And now what that does is bring us to a close.
Ooh.
How important is the sex? Part 2. Let my guests say what they want to say, man. Tell them where they can find you at, Asani.
Sex is very important. You can find me at couplesacademy.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse, all of it. Appreciate you guys.
Danielle.
I agree. Sex is very important, but you all know in the proper context into which God has created it. And you can find me at Danielle Tashay on IG.
Sex is an experience. Make sure you experience it with the right person.
Yeah.
This is DJ Fidelf. Find me on IG, DJ FADELF, DJFidelf.com, and tap in.
Hey, make sure you guys go over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Subscribe. Leave some reviews and check us out next time. Check out the YouTube channel. How Important is the Sex? Part 2. Peace.
Whatever either one of the three of you do, I would